Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to revisit a recipe that I did about 6 years ago, and it's for mock apple pie. My oven is preheated. We're going to be making a mock apple pie. We're going to be making apple pie without apples. So what are the apples? The apples are going to be Ritz crackers. Now, I made this recipe 6 years ago. I'll put a link down below to that video in case you missed it. That was the original 1934 Ritz cracker mock apple pie recipe that was printed on the back of the Ritz cracker box. Today, I'm going to be making a slightly different version because several of you got in touch with me via social media requesting this particular version of this recipe. If you don't follow me on social media, please consider do so, and subscribing if you're not subbed already. This recipe is a little bit different. The ratio of sugar is a little bit different, and the technique is slightly different as well. But the whole concept is the same. We're going to be making a pie that looks like apple pie and is supposed to taste like apple pie, but it's not made with apples at all. It's made with Ritz crackers. So there are a couple origin stories about this recipe. One says that this was created because apples were in shortage and they substituted crackers instead, but that's a little difficult to believe because crackers would have been more expensive than apples. Another one said it was just a way for the Nabisco company to promote their crackers by promoting this recipe on the back of their packaging. And another one says it was simply a resourceful cook that made this recipe using things that they had on hand. All of them are great stories, right? At any rate, let's go ahead and make this version and see if it indeed tastes like apple pie. So in a saucepan, we're going to add 2 cups of water and 1 cup of sugar. Now, right off the bat, this contains a significant less amount of sugar than the first recipe I tried, the 1934 Hard Times recipe. That contained 1 3/4 cups. So this contains about half as much sugar. Oh, but that's not true. We're also going to be adding a brown sugar topping on this, so the amount of sugar is actually pretty close. So we're going to dissolve that. And I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, and this is tartaric acid. I find I don't use this ingredient much. I think the only time I really use it is when I'm whipping egg whites. It helps stabilize them. I sometimes use it in, what else? Oh, snickerdoodles, which is a great cinnamon cookie. Sometimes use it in that, but that's about it. So we're going to bring this to a boil, which is almost there. And then we're going to add 30 Ritz crackers. I love how very specific it is. So last time I counted the sleeve of Ritz crackers in my last video, I said there was 29, I believe, or 28. Let's see if it's changed with shrinkflation. 2, 4, 6, 24, 26, 28, 32, 34. 34 crackers, so there are more? It's kind of surprising. Maybe they've gotten smaller in diameter. I don't know. Alrighty, so my syrup has come up to a boil. I'm going to reduce that. So this recipe differs than my first one because I'm going to add the crackers directly into the syrup. Just like this. I'm not going to break them up either. Just put them in whole. And we're going to boil them for 5 minutes. These are our apple slices, right? So the crackers are going to absorb some of the syrup in this process. And what I'm most curious about is how much they're going to break up. Are they just going to retain their shape? I guess. Okay. It just says boil for 5 minutes. All right, look at this. Wild, right? Oh my God. My butter just exploded all over my microwave. What? Have you ever? I've never had butter do this. Look at that. That's horrible. It's dripping from the top. Stuff of nightmares. I'm gonna remelt my butter. I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'll have to clean up my microwave in a minute. We're gonna be making the crust while the filling simmers away. So this crust is a little bit different than the first recipe I did. It's not a closed sealed double crust pie as I did last time. This one's going to have a crumb topping with more sugar and more crackers. So it says I need a cup of crushed crackers. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, so I'm just going to crush up this whole roll. I'm just going to do it right in the package so that I can not make an entire mess. And then we'll measure it into a cup. So keep crushing my crackers. So let's measure this. So it looks like it's going to be about a sleeve. So I have 5 tablespoons of butter, mostly melted in here. I don't know, I've never had butter explode like that. Why did that happen? I'm a little bit nervous about putting this back in to melt again. So if there are a few chunks of butter, I'm not going to worry about it. All right, into my 5 tablespoons of butter, I'm going to add a cup of crushed crackers, which is about a sleeve. I made an utter mess. To that, we're going to add 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. I love that. Boonk. And to make it taste like apple pie, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Boop. And then we're just going to mix that up. Initially, I thought this recipe contained a significant less amount of sugar, but then after rereading it, this has a very sugary crumb topping. So there we have it. I'm going to make sure we crush up any large bits of cracker. That looks pretty great. Looks a little bit like a cobbler topping or like a oat crumble topping. It smells great too. So this recipe is definitely easier than the last one because you don't have to make a pie crust. I suppose you could use a store-bought pie crust and that would save you time, but then you still have to kind of assemble a top and bottom crust. This one just has one store-bought frozen crust and you don't have to manipulate any pastry whatsoever. In the first version, I made a homemade crust, which was delicious and worth making, but definitely takes more time. So here's our pie crust and look at our filling. Look how the crackers just kind of melted and plumped up and absorbed all that syrup. All right, it doesn't smell like apple pie. It smells kind of oily, but you know what gives us that association of apple pie? Cinnamon. So we're going to use more cinnamon and lemon juice. Alrighty, so now we're going to pour our soaked crackers into our crust. And I'm going to smear them out a little bit. Okay, and then a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. And for me, that's about 1/2 of a big lemon. And then more cinnamon sprinkled right over the top. Oh, it smells great. Immediately, my mind's thinking apple pie. All right, it smells great. And now we're just going to add our topping. Sprinkled evenly over the top. All right, I'm using my fingertips to kind of distribute things a little bit more evenly. And look at that. Before we go in the oven, look at that. Looks pretty great. We're going to pop this into a preheated 425-degree Fahrenheit oven for 15 minutes, and then we're going to reduce the temperature to 375 and then cook it for another 15 to 20 minutes before we give it a taste. We're going to let it cool a little bit to allow things to set up, and then we're supposed to eat it warm. Alrighty, my lovelies, I'll see you in about ½ an hour once our pie is cooked, and we'll give it a little time to cool off. Super curious about how this is going to taste. Alrighty, lovelies, see you in a little bit. Alrighty, my lovelies, I am back with the baked mock apple pie version 2. Look at it, looks pretty good. It looks a lot like a pecan pie. And I know on camera it looks like it might be burnt, but it isn't. It's just very toasted. Smells great, caramelly and cinnamony for sure. And it's been cooling for about a half an hour or so, a little over half an hour. And it said to serve it warm. So, have to say it smells delicious. It looks very good. And it was a cinch to make. Okay, let's go. Cut into it. Ooh, got a little bit of a crust for sure. Slices very readily. All right, let's get under it. Whoa, look at that. Oh my gosh, it just spilled right onto my plate. I was hoping to have nice layers, but it doesn't have any layers of crackers at all. So this recipe said to boil the crackers. I'm thinking I could have just put the crackers in and then put the syrup on top instead of boiling it all together. I'll wait to slice this again once it's cold. I'm hoping to get layers of crackers that look like apple slices, but this does not look like apple. I mean, it looks like apple sauce, but not layers. I have to say I'm disappointed. I was hoping this recipe, because it had a different technique, would give me those layers. I might have to make this again without boiling it and see. If I do that, I will include the B-roll footage. Anyways, let's give this one a taste. Here we go. Here's the disappointing slice. In terms of its photogenicness, it looks like it exploded on my plate, but most importantly, we want to see how it tastes. So this is also pretty warm. So, ooh, look right off the bat though, that's pretty nice. The crust is nice and firm, kind of crackly. Alrighty, mock apple pie, version 2. Here we go. Itadakimasu. It's pretty impressive. You know, your mind immediately associates this combination of tart and cinnamon pie with apple pie. It just does that because that's what it knows. If someone would just serve this to me, I would just say, apple pie. But there's no appley flavor. It's cinnamony and tangy, as a nice applesaucey apple pie would be. But it doesn't have any appley flavor. But somehow it works. The consistency is very much like applesauce, but it's not as mealy or as wet, but it looks just like applesauce. It's a great little pie. A little bit of cinnamon, nice balance of sugar. It's not overly sweet, despite the fact that we put a good amount of sugar on there. The topping is nice. A little bit crackly, brown sugary. And I like that it's an actual kind of crust. So I don't miss the second crust of pastry on top. Actually, 2 crusted pies for me sometimes are too stodgy, as the Brits say. You know, too much pastry relative to filling. But this is great. It's terrific. Now, it goes without saying, this is not good for those that are gluten intolerant or follow a keto diet, but it's very novel and pretty tasty, and I think it would be delightful to take to a party and serve up and ask, what do you think of the pie? And see if anyone has any suspicions. But beyond that, if they can guess what the secret ingredient is. Now, how does this compare to the first mock apple pie? Honestly, it's been so long, it's hard for me to make that judgment. But for ease, this one wins. For pie crust flavor, the other one wins because we made an all butter crust. It was delicious. In terms of filling, they're similar. I do remember the other one being a little bit more lemony, and I think that's because we added lemon zest in that recipe, and this contains no lemon zest. Although I don't think this recipe is at any kind of deficit because of the absence of the lemon zest. In fact, in some sense, it's almost more, I don't know, appley. I don't know. Both recipes are great. This one is less effort. So If you need to bring it to a quick party, maybe this one is the one for you. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it, mock apple pie version 2. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! All right, I cannot wait to hear what my kids think of this. It's crazy. Who comes up with this? Genius. I mean, real apples would be better. But apple crackers? Who knew?